Bibliophiles of the Internet. My name is Adriana, and today I'm here to bring you my April book haul. In the month of April, I collected a nice number of books, some of which I have already read, some of which I have not yet read, all of which I am very excited to have and to share with you today. That's pretty much all I had to say about that, so I feel like we should just jump right in. The first book I have to show you I bought secondhand, and that is this Vintage Classics edition of Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates. I talked about this book when I did the classics book tag, referencing it as one of the classics I would like to get to sooner rather than later. So this book is about Frank and April Wheeler, who are your typical married couple living that typical suburban life. But their marriage has kind of hit a snag, and they've reached this point where they really resent one another and they're fighting more and more. And so the story basically explores why that is and what's happening between them. The next two books I'm going to show you I was given by a friend, my very good friend Steven, who I feel like you all know at least by name because I've mentioned him in like my last two wrap-ups. He is like my comic dealer. He shares his graphic novels with me and lends them to me, which is awesome because graphic novels and comics are hella expensive, so he's got my back. And this time he took it a step further and he gave me some comics that he wanted to get rid of, which is awesome. I accept them, so thank you very much, Steven. And those comics were actually a manga duology, so he gave me both volumes of What a Wonderful World by Inio Asano. And Inio Asano, if you did not know, is the mangaka who created Solanin, which I read last year and really loved. From what I understand, both of these volumes are kind of in the same vein as Solanin because they're gritty contemporaries and slice of life stories, and both of these are actually series of intersecting vignettes. So I'm looking forward to reading these soon and seeing what they're all about, and these are like in brand new condition, so seriously, thank you, Steven. Next, I bought myself a hardcover copy of The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. So I read this book last December, I believe, and I really enjoyed it, and it was so beautiful. I knew I had to own it for myself, so I went ahead and bought it. And this, of course, is an extraordinary magical realism story all about a girl named Ava Lavender who was born with wings. I love this book. It is spectacularly written, and I very highly recommend it. The next book I have to show you is a middle grade urban fantasy steampunk kind of story, and that is Flights and Chimes and Mysterious Times by Emma Trevane. From what I can gather, this book is about an alternate London known as Londinium, which is a very dangerous place. It's full of metal fairies and clockwork dragons and all kinds of metal mechanical beasts. And furthermore, Londinium is ruled over by this mysterious, all-powerful lady, and she has decided that she needs a flesh and blood son, and she has chosen the main character of this book, Jack, to be that son, and obviously he wants to escape that fate. As you all know, I love middle grade books, and this one sounds really intriguing and unique, very imaginative, and I'm just excited to see how it unfolds because I'm hoping to read this one soon. After that, I bought this bind-up edition of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. Obviously, this is a classic duology that starts with Alice, who falls down the rabbit hole and finds herself in a completely different and ridiculous world. I have read this duology multiple times in the past. It's one of my favorites, but the old bind-up edition that I owned was ugly. Let's just say it. So I saw this cover and I knew I wanted this edition. So all in all, this is a very nice, very quality edition, and I'm so glad that I stumbled upon this cover because it's awesome. After that, I got myself more manga, and I bought the first two volumes in the Owari No Set Off series, also known as Set Off of the End by Takaya Kagami and Yamato Yamamoto. Recently, there was an anime adaptation released for this manga series, and that is absolutely incredible. I am all caught up with that, and I have read both of these volumes and beyond as well. This series is about a world where most of the population has been killed off as a result of this virus. But the virus doesn't affect people 13 years or younger, I believe. And just as this epidemic is gripping the country, vampires arise out of nowhere and commence to enslave the rest of the surviving humans. And of course, the main character, Yuichiro, is not content with living his life as if he is livestock, so his life's mission is to get revenge on the vampires and kill them all. Obviously. I am really obsessed with this series right now, and I'm hoping to get all caught up with it in May, and you will hear more of my thoughts on this series and these 2 volumes in my April wrap-up. And then I actually bought a new release, which I'm sure many people are hauling right now, and that is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is high fantasy. As far as I know, it is a standalone, so those 2 things alone were enough to catch my attention. All I know about this book is that one of the characters is a slave and the other one is a soldier, and both of them long for their freedom. The female character, Leia, who is the slave, has recently learned that her brother has been arrested for treason, and she will do anything to set him free. And of course, I also wanted to go out on a limb and buy this book because I really wanted to support the author, who is a woman of color writing fantasy, and that's something that you don't often get to see. Also, of course, women writing fantasy stories about women is also very, very important to me. So whether this book is great or not, I will have supported, and I feel good about that. Penultimately, I bought this vintage edition of Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. Murakami is quickly becoming one of my auto-buy authors, but because he has written so many books and I don't want to buy them all at once, my strategy right now is to buy one and then read it and then buy another one. And in April, I read Norwegian Wood, so it was time to buy another Murakami book, and this is one of his most highly acclaimed novels, and it's been recommended to me several times. I really don't know anything about this book, and I kind of want to keep it that way. All I know is that it's very, very surreal, and there are cats involved. That's really all I need to know, to be honest. And finally, the last book I bought in April was The House of Many Ways by Diana Wynne Jones. This book is a sequel of sorts to Howl's Moving Castle, which is one of my favorite stories of all time. I love it so freaking much, and I recently reread Howl's Moving Castle in April, and I loved it even more if possible. Of course, when I first read Howl's Moving Castle, I knew that this book existed, but I was kind of on the fence because I was like, do I want to read it? Do I not want to read it? But recently I've decided if there's any chance to see Howl and Sophie again in this book, then it's absolutely worth reading. From what I can gather, this book is about a young girl named Chairman Baker who is sent to look after her great uncle's house. But I believe her great uncle is a wizard, and his house is very enchanting, and the doors lead to all kinds of crazy places and completely different worlds. At least that's what I'm getting from this. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book because I absolutely love Diana Wynne Jones' writing style. It's very fairy tale-esque, very fantastical, very whimsical, very smart, and she crafts some awesome characters. So those are all of the books I read in April. In the comments down below, please let me know if you have read any of the books I shared today, or if you plan to read them in the future. But like I said, that is everything I had for this haul video today, so thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye!